I'm in my 40s now, and I realize that I'm getting a little older, and I also realize that talking about aging to some people in this room might seem a little silly, considering I think you have me by a few years, a few of you do. But I'm still noticing changes in my life as I reached my 40s, and I'm sure those changes will continue. And one of those changes I have noticed, especially more recently, is that sometimes my wife and I feel a little overwhelmed because we make plans, and then we realize as the plans are getting closer, we don't really want to go as badly as we did when we made the plans. Is that something that we can relate to? Is that a relatable experience? Okay. Now, every once in a while, the people with whom we have our plans will call us or send us a text, and they say, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, can't make it, something came up." And the weird thing is, we don't always feel sad. Sometimes we feel relieved. Right? That's kind of weird, isn't it? It's a little weird to say, "Oh, it's okay. We understand," right? Now, why would we feel this way? That seems silly, especially thinking back, 20 years ago. I would have been pretty disappointed if I was in my 20s and somebody canceled. But now that I'm in my 40s and somebody cancels, it can be kind of a relief. So why do we feel that way? Well, probably a lot of things come into play. Probably a lot of things. Think about going and spending some time downtown, for instance. Right? It takes a lot of energy to go do something downtown. You got to drive all the way downtown. You got to take freeways, and if you go on the weekend these days, the freeways are always closed. So you got to figure out, how am I going to get there? And once you get there, you got to think, where am I going to park? Am I going to find a parking structure that's close to where I'm going to be? And then you think about prices these days are not exactly cheap. So meals are expensive, and drinks are expensive, and you also don't want to be out too late because as you get older, you can't rebound as easily in the morning after a night out of partying, right? So there's a lot of energy that comes into the idea of going out. And so it isn't so much that we don't want to go out, and it definitely isn't that we don't want to spend time with people. It's just that sometimes it's more comfortable to stay at home. Can you relate to that? Is it more comfortable to stay at home? I think it is. I think it can be. Why? Well, our TV is at home. I like that. I like the TV, right? We've got our dog at home. I like spending time with our dog. And we have food at home. We're both pretty good cooks, and we can make some pretty good food that if it's not as good as the restaurant, it's at least pretty good, and it's probably a fraction of the price. And we've got our refrigerator with cold beverages that are probably significantly less expensive than they would have been if we bought them at a restaurant. And we have blankets that we can snuggle under, and we can wear loungy clothes. We can wear shorts and tank tops and whatever, right? And we have the comfort of our own restroom. That's nice, right? And we can just sit on the couch and we can just scroll through our phone if we want to, right? We can do all those things that are comfortable. It's comfortable to be at home. But here's the thing. Even when we do go out, even if we've been kind of thinking, I don't know how much I want to do this, we always have a good time. Almost always have a good time. And we really enjoy spending time with the people that we make plans with. We're nourished and nurtured by those relationships and by spending time with friends and by spending time with people. And we find that we can build a deeper connection with the people in our lives. And we have a whole lot of fun when we do it, right? So even though it can be more comfortable to stay at home, if we were to stay home all the time, we'd miss out on a whole lot of things that we'd otherwise really enjoy doing. Okay? So why am I sharing this with you? Well, firstly, I don't think that I'm alone in this struggle. I've already heard some agreements from you. But I also have seen recently there's a T-shirt that is being sold a lot, and the T-shirt says, "I'm sorry I was late. I didn't want to come." Now, this T-shirt would not sell if it didn't have a bit of truth to it and people didn't find some humor in it. Okay? And secondly, and probably more importantly, I'm trying to give us a modern illustration of what it is that we are doing with our service today, our Palm Sunday liturgy. Because the Palm Sunday liturgy is, quite honestly, one of the weirdest liturgies of the entire church year. Okay? Because we start outside with the liturgy of the palms, and we wave our palm branches, and we say, Hosanna, and blessed is the King, right? And then we come inside, and we shift gears, and we have the story of the crucifixion. And how many of us were comfortable when we as a community had to say, crucify him? Was that a comfortable thing to have to say? I don't think it was. So that is a huge shift from saying, blessed be our King, to crucify him in the same service, in less than probably 10 minutes. Probably 10 minutes from start to where we say crucify him. And to make it even more confusing, the crucifixion didn't happen on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday traditionally is the day that we remember the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the day that we celebrated when we were out on the patio, where we were waving branches. That's the day that Palm Sunday represents. So why do we read the crucifixion narrative on a day that we don't commemorate the crucifixion? Because we skip over some pretty important pieces of the story to get to that crucifixion. We skip over Jesus' Last Supper and his betrayal, right? And washing of the feet. And we skip over the other 5 days during Lent that are between now and Good Friday. So why would the Passion Gospel be read nearly a week before we commemorate the events that take place during that Gospel? And the reason is because the drafters of the lectionary were smart. Okay? And they knew that Friday is a weekday, and that not everybody has the luxury, the opportunity to attend church on a weekday. And if you didn't come on Good Friday, and you didn't get to hear the crucifixion story on Sunday, right, you'd go straight from celebrating Hosanna, blessed is the King, the triumphal entry, to resurrection, and you wouldn't have to pay any attention to the uncomfortable part of the story, the crucifixion. We'd skip over a pretty important piece of that story. Okay? Now, would that be easier? Would it be more fun to go from saying Hosanna to Jesus is risen 1 week to the next? Yeah, it certainly would be. But would it nourish us and fulfill us in the same way? And I say probably not. Probably not. Because Holy Week is supposed to be uncomfortable. That's why we start Holy Week with the congregation saying, crucify him. It's intentional to get our attention and to remind us that it's uncomfortable. Okay? And it's important for us to refrain from moving ourselves out of that discomfort simply because that would be the easier option. So as we enter Holy Week, which we now have done officially, I want to discourage us all from rushing straight to our Easter celebration. I want us to spend time in Holy Week. Keep our feet where they are. Okay? There are lots of liturgies taking place this week. There are readings and resources available online. I hope you take advantage of those. Lots of reflections to read and to pay attention to as we have our Holy Week journey. When we think liturgically, we're not remembering events that happened 2,000 years ago. We are transposing ourselves into those days and those times and those places. So today, liturgically, we are not in Glendale, Arizona. We are in Jerusalem. We are waving those palms with Jesus right now. And as we gather on Maundy Thursday, we're not in Glendale. We are upstairs in that upstairs room with Jesus and the disciples. And on Good Friday, we are on Golgotha with Jesus. And we transpose ourselves into that time and that space. And as we do that, it's important that we spend the appropriate time and attention being in those moments. Because when we arrive next week at Easter, if we spend time and energy navigating those uncomfortable times and navigating that discomfort, then the celebration of the resurrection will be all the more meaningful. Amen.